Hello. Welcome to the Blxck podcast. This is going to be episode number 1 from a very windy, rainy Manchester today. My name is Rhys. And yeah, Manchester is absolutely battering down after we've been promised a couple of days of good weather. It is horrible. I woke up this morning outside. I couldn't see down to the bottom of my road. But you know what? It's beautiful. It is what it is. There's a guy at my work, Hussein, who is from Iran, and he tells me every day he loves the rain because it's just new and it's fresh and it's refreshing, and I love that aspect, and I love that vision, I should say, that he shares, because it's very British to moan about the weather, which I do a lot, and to see it from that perspective and to understand it from his vision is very beautiful. It gives you a different outlook on the day. Anyway, I'm rambling, but my point being, this is kind of what this podcast is going to be. I'm by no means an expert in anything, but we're just going to discuss life, social dynamics, the differences of opinions in people, the things that people do, the things that I do, the things that I've seen other people do, and we're just going to discuss at its core whether it helps us or whether it hinders us. You know, like I said, I'm in Manchester. I've lived here for 7 years now. I'm originally from Wolverhampton's, Willenhall to be exact. It's a small town. I say Wolverhampton because nobody knows where Willenhall is. It's a very small town in the Midlands, and it has got that small town mentality vibe. You know, people are very used to their surroundings, and they're a little bit far away from exactly what's possible. I think there's a lot of things about luck, or that guy's lucky, he's got this, which, you know, there's luck. I'm going to do another video of luck versus work ethic very soon. It's going to be one of the first podcasts I do, actually, because I'm very passionate about that topic. But I think, yeah, it's what's taught to you, you know, it's what's taught to you. It's very much, you know, this is this, and that's the only way it's going to be. Whereas if you widen your worldview a little bit and you come out, I think it does change, and I want to discuss that as a person from Willenhall. I'm not putting them down by any means. As a person from Willenhall, and as someone who was subscribed to that mentality for quite some time, I think it's interesting now to look back on the journey that I've taken from there, and the differences of opinions that I've got now, which, to be honest, I kind of had in the past. Anyway, I digress. The journey that I decided to embark on 7 years ago, I want to discuss that, and what I did to better myself. I moved to put myself in front of more opportunity. There wasn't a lot going on in Willenhall, and, you know, I'm told still to this day there's not. I haven't been back for a while. And just to meet better minds, just to put myself in a city where there were people within touching distance that I admired and I wanted to be like. But that also doesn't come with all the rosiness that it, you know, first shows. And I'm going to be discussing some of the issues that I've faced over various topics. I'm a very analytical person. I think anyone who knows me will corroborate that. Maybe too much sometimes. I know a few people who'll say that. But of society in general, it's not just myself or friends or people, it's just society in general. I'm kind of a nihilist, I'll be honest, but I think it's an interesting perception to have of the world. It does take a little bit more to get yourself up and, you know, enjoying the world again when you look at it nihilistically. But social dynamics really fascinates me, and it's something that's so under the radar but so utilized often. I think I would argue every single day of your life there's something that's put in front of you that is thought about on a social dynamic level, and it is used to influence you, whether it's politics, whether it's marketing, whether it could be anything. It could advertising. There's a lot of it in advertising and marketing, which is what I came here to study. But yeah, it's just a fascinating topic and a fascinating subject that not a lot of people pick up on how utilised that is in life. So I want to be discussing that as well. I want to be discussing a decade of stories of being a professional wrestler. I know that's definitely not as rosy as it sounds either, but it was a beautiful time, and one that I enjoyed, and one that I've still got very good contacts with in that industry. Maybe I'll go back to it soon, I don't know. It's always something I'll toy with the idea of, because it is a passion of mine. But that industry is very crazy, and I had to get out of it at the time that I did get out of it for various reasons that I'll go into in another topic, another episode. But yeah, that's a crazy, wacky world. And again, that's something that dictates the mentality that you're going to see the world with in the end. You never quite see the world the same when you've been in show business, particularly pro wrestling, let me tell you that. But then moving into the music industry, something that I'm currently navigating, you know, the ups and downs of that, I definitely want to get into that. There's definitely some shady stuff there that people, you know, should be discussing more. I think discussion is key to everything, really. I don't think there's a topic that you can't address with a calm head. So I kind of want to do that and use this platform as a discussion. If you disagree with anything or you want to debate something, please feel free to leave a comment, because I'm not dictating this to people. I'm just flowing on what I've learned over the past couple of years. And what I think works, you know, works for me. Anyone who ever tells you anything that works for them, it's anecdotal. It's something that they've used themselves to help them. So it doesn't always mean that it's correct for every single person. It's just what happened to them, and obviously context comes into it as well. Guests feeds nicely into that. Guests, I want guests on the podcast, but I want guests who are going to talk about the topics, and not necessarily just themselves and then it's an interview. I do want to do bits of that, but I want to do bits of that I'm hearing from people who are currently navigating their career path. They haven't completed it, because I feel like so often self-help or, you know, discussion podcasts, I don't know whether this is self-help, I guess it is, but, you know, I'm no expert. I'm just using this to, I guess, diary my thoughts and feelings towards things. But guests, I want to hear them currently navigating, because you so often hear people who have made it or who have achieved something great, which is beautiful to hear from for other reasons. You can, you know, backwards engineer what they did where, which is a great tool to have. But I want to hear from people who are currently going through and making mistakes themselves, because I think that's a beautiful process that doesn't get documented enough as well. It's very often you hear from someone and you give them a pat on the back and they say, yeah, we achieved this. But what about when people are down in the depths? Because I know from myself, when I'm in a project and when I'm feeling a bit lost or I'm looking for direction, it's in that moment. It's that exact moment where I feel like, okay, well, these guys made it, so I'm looking for that. That's the scope of it. That's where we're going, right? That's the end goal. But what's actually happening in the middle, I don't see that documented an awful lot. So I'd like to get that on record with people from various different situations, whether it's music, whether it's wrestling, whether it's, I don't know, the level of guests I'll have on here. But we'll go from there, you know. I think that'll be a really interesting one to have. And again, I've said it twice already, but I am no expert. I'm very studied in social dynamics and psychology, especially in marketing. But, you know, I'm using this as a platform for discussion. So anything you do disagree with, let's chat about it. Let's comment. It is what it is. But yeah, to wrap up this quick little episode, I'd like to leave you with 3 quotes. Everyone loves a good quote, right? But I'd like to leave you with 3 of my favourite quotes and just a little bit of background of why I like them. Because I feel like that's a good starting point, right? Everyone looks for quotes as a starting point, and then we build the bridges from there, and then we can, you know, kind of get the footing in place. And that's what I want this episode to be, really. I just want it to be a little bit of a chin wag, say what I'm going to do with the Blxck podcast, and we'll go from there. So, quote number 1, be the shepherd and not the sheep. So my dad taught me that. My dad always used to tell me that, and that's had a long-lasting impression on me. My dad, again, the way I work, I kind of look at other people. I'm very observant, and I try and take a little bit from everyone's story where they went wrong and whatnot. My dad had a bit of a checkered life. You know, it wasn't super crazy, but it wasn't super good either. But, you know, I find it really cool that I had a father figure who could guide me morally, even though maybe some of the things he did was, you know, out there morally or whatever. You know, I won't go into the specifics, but, you know, knowing his past and knowing the struggles that he went through and knowing the lack of father figure he had when he was growing up, I always felt really lucky that I had that instilled in me, and he was always there to do that. You know, I would only see him weekends. Unfortunately, my mum and dad split up when I was a kid, but that is what it is as well. So yeah, even though I had limited time with him, and he had his own, you know, dealings with his younger self, he always used to tell me that, and that has very much stuck with me throughout my life. In everything I do, even if you want to wear some clothes that are crazy, you know, if you feel good in those clothes, go do it, brother. You know, like I was out yesterday. It's crazy, you know, because these are the kind of things that I want to talk about as well, because I was out yesterday and I wore some kind of nice suited trousers and whatever, and I think a handful of the people, I'd say like 7-8 people, came up to me like, "Oh my God, you look amazing, you look really smart, blah, blah, blah." And then there were like 2 people who go, "What the fuck are you wearing?" And you know what? I love that. I love that. You know why? Because I'm still getting your attention. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, I'm still getting your attention. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm wearing it because I like the clothes. But you still feel the need to have to come and take time out of your day to come and comment on me. Beautiful, man. That means I'm a person to take note of. It's beautiful. It is what it is. You know, brush it off, because it is what it is. People manifest feelings in different ways. So, you know, beautiful. Quote number 2. This is a deep one, and I love this. At some point, you have to take part in your own rescue. Now, this is a tricky one, because a friend who taught me this is also struggling to stick with this time to time, and I have to kind of nudge him to it. And, you know, I do the same. I'm not judging people. Whenever I'm commenting on people, I'm not judging them. I'm merely pointing it out, because I'm a absolute hypocrite if I do that, because I make the same mistakes. I'm discussing this on a really emotionless platform, just saying the black and white of things, but he struggles sticking with it. And I think it's something a lot of people struggle with, this victim mentality. Again, I'll come back to that in another video, but it's like, you can give people the answers. I think a lot of people come to me for, you know, to discuss things because they like the way I think about things. And certainly with the job I've got at the minute, you know, working in hospitality, I think, you know, you get that vibe where people are just kind of fighting over and scrambling over their thoughts, but then there's that 1 or 2 people you can go to and they're kind of level-headed. I think luckily for me and nicely enough, I've kind of got that role now where a few people come to me for, I guess, advice, which is weird because I'm crazy myself. But yeah, it's like just discussing those things with people. I've found that, you know, you can give people the answers and they can even see the answers themselves. But then if they don't want to put that into action, then nothing's going to help them. And that is something I've struggled with dealing with forever, because I've had some close people in my life who have suffered with that. And they're still making the same mistakes that they've made 2-3 years ago. And I'm just like, where's the growth, man? You know, like, where is the growth? It's crazy. But that leads me perfectly to quote number 3 that I'd like to share with you. And this is very much applied to this podcast. The best way to be in business is to be in business. Now, what that means is consistency is key. If you've got an idea, but you've got no action, then it will forever remain an idea. You know, and you're getting into, there's a term, mental masturbation, which I'll discuss in another video, but you kind of do. You kind of just, it always stays in your head and it's never put into reality. And if it's in your head, it's not into reality. It's not in the real world and it's not affecting other people. So really, the only thing that it's affecting is you. But if it's a good idea and it's something that you want to do and it's a dream, then you have to put it into reality. You have to take that risk of, you know, are people going to like it? Is it going to fall flat on its face? I had it with this podcast. Like, the fact that I'm recording this right now and saying this right now is very fitting, because I wanted this podcast to be live and in person, have a good production and, you know, guests and all that stuff. The reality of it, I'm thinking of where I want to go with it. I'm not thinking of where I'm starting with it. So I'm starting with just a little nest egg, and it's just me talking to you and you listening to me ramble on about some things. And I think that's perfect for the first episode, and I've put it off for so long because I wanted to do this crazy thing with it. I wanted to have these camera switches, and that could all come in time. You got to realize where you are and just put things out there. The best way to be in business is to be in business, and that's it. Hopefully I've given you a little flavor of what I want to do. Hopefully it's not too like preachy, because I definitely do not want to be preachy with this. I just want to discuss what I think is good, all the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years and studied myself, and the mistakes that I've made, and some funny stories along the way. This is a bit of a informative one for now, but you know, we are going to be a bit lighter with this as well, because life's for having fun, you know. But yeah, thank you for listening to episode number 1. That was all in one take as well, so hopefully I haven't rambled on forever. But let's listen to number 2. Number 2 is going to come out, I think I'm going to do a couple of these a week, maybe one a week. But it's for sure just going to be on YouTube for now. So if you are interested, Blxck podcast on YouTube. And I might even put it out on some podcast providers too. Hope you've enjoyed. Catch you later.